Viva Chile, viva Chile, a Chile quiero, chileno yo soy.
All right, welcome back to the final segment of Red Hot Chile here, overlooking beautiful Iquique as we see the Pacific Ocean here, the waves. I don't know if you can see it on the YouTube video or not being that part of the production studio here, if you call it that. But when I'm looking over my shoulder, I sure see a lot of nice high rises and waves breaking down below. They're just gorgeous. The heat's a little tough on me as the sun's shifting towards the end of the show. I'll have to say it's a little bit hot, but other than that, I guess well, can't complain. Yeah, it could be somewhere else where it's raining. At any rate, we're glad you joined us today for the special edition in Iquique. I hope it gives you a little bit of an idea of what it's like to be up here in this part of Chile, in case it might be of interest, and also what it might be like to live in Vicuña. In this segment, I want to let Richard finish up some of his comments that he's got about Vicuña and perhaps the situation there for business opportunities and whatnot. And after that, I'd like to jump in and finish the show off. We were talking about the Chilean model for how they actually live here, and which is usually in more than one place. It's important to know for people to get accustomed to how life is done in this country. So Richard, let's get back to you. Give us a few more insights that you have. We got cut off sort of at the end of the last segment.
All right, thanks, John. Well, I was talking about the jams I'm doing. I'm trying to integrate what comes from my own culture, stuff that took maybe thousands or hundreds of years to develop. I'm trying to integrate them to products from the valley, such as the rose petal jam. I'm the only place. I'm working on other jams, fig jams, and other products using what is available in the valley. And here I would like to go off a little bit and touch on the language ability skills that you talked about earlier. You don't have to speak Spanish. Okay, if you speak Spanish, that's perfect. But
Richard, speak into the microphone. I know that you want to see what they want to watch you on YouTube. But.
All right. So you don't have to speak Spanish per se, because part of the communication is nonverbal. Is your body language, is the environment there you're in.
Yeah.
All right. So I speak several languages at an ice-breaking level, and sometimes, if you know two words, like in Dutch, I knew dag meneer, which says hello ma'am, and dag mevrouw, hello sir. And I did this greeting customers of mine coming in, and the connection was right there. And even with a taxi or in the bus ride, if you speak very little, because when I first came here, I didn't speak much. I was not better than you guys. So I was able to even manage myself word by word and get around things. So don't ever think that you don't speak enough Spanish. You speak few words that can lead you somewhere, and on those few words you can add on and build your way up. As simple as this.
All right, thank you so much for that insight. Is there anything else you want to add? Why don't you give us at least one more time the email address, the Google information, Facebook, whatever, so people can get in touch with you about your hostel out there.
All right. My Facebook is facebook.com hostal with an A, Hostal, Alyaras, Alyaras. And by the way, Alyaras is the name of, it means the bell in Arabic. And the village I'm in, my hostel is in, is called La Campana, which means the bell. And my email address again is hostalalyaras@gmail.com. Again, that would be HOSTALAYARAS@gmail.com.
All right,
John.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on the show today, Richard. I'd really add something that expatriates who come into Chile and give us some of their experience. And you're a fellow from Lebanon and also had some experience in the U.S. and Europe. Here living in Chile successfully for all these years and opening a business in a place that's not real common in the sense for expatriates to make it their destination, Vicuña. Now, my wife and I have been up there several times, and we certainly appreciate Vicuña. It's a great place to go, and it's not that far from Santiago. You get there in a day, and yet, you know, you feel like you're so far away because it's out in the middle of the country, just completely in the countryside. Beautiful, beautiful mountains around you, and a lot of trees, and in the valley at least. The mountains are all pretty bare. And you can see some farming going on. It's just really nice. All right, well, let me talk to you folks about a bit about the way that Chileans tend to live. I'm speaking specifically about the upper middle and the upper classes. And most people who move down here from any country north of the Tropic of Capricorn are going to be in one of those social classes. It's unusual, but it's a sort of a paradigm shift that you have to adopt if you're going to live here in Chile, I think, in the long run. If you notice the way it's a market response for those who want a simple libertarian economic answer. It's not a coerced response by the state. It's just that people don't live in any one particular place in Chile the entire year. They simply don't do it, especially true of the wives or the women and the children. But what will happen is somebody will have an apartment, say, or it could be a mansion, I suppose, in Locuro or some part of Santiago, an apartment, say, very common. That they'll be their base of operations. And there they do all their normal business. They have their main supermarket shopping, they have their hospital care, their medical care, they have their colegios, which are high schools and grammar schools for the children. A lot of variety and a lot of excellent choices there for that. Their life pretty much revolves around that. Even their entertainment's there, from the amusement parks to the bowling alleys to golf and the country clubs. Those are all there, but they don't stay there all year. And in fact, there's even a classist tinge to this, that if you don't leave during the summer months and either go outside of the country to Europe or the United States or somewhere else, or you're at least not going to the beach for a month or going down south by the volcanoes and lakes for a month, then you're really not so high class as you think you are. And remember, classism, unfortunately, is a pretty important thing here. People will actually eat ramen noodles instead of regular, square meals every day, just so they can live in a certain address in Santiago, especially one of the four major, upper class comunas, because it helps them for employment and other things. And you may not like that fact, but hey, folks, this is reality. I'm not pulling any punches about Chile. I'm not a classist, and certainly I don't like classism. But you see it. You see it even in the churches. I mean, it's amazing how widespread it is here. But anyway, after you've settled in your place in Santiago, people will often pick a second place to live. And that will depend completely on their preferences and, of course, their tastes. Some people will like to come up here to Iquique, because in Iquique they can have the beach, or they can have these paragliding or surfing and the other things they might like that. Other people only come to Iquique for work, because there's so much mining in the Coyahuasi mine up here. Like they would go to Antofagasta, and they'll spend a considerable amount of time. So up here they'll end up having a second home by nature of their job. They'll leave their family in Santiago because the children go to a better school there, a better social situation there, and they'll live up here part of the year just for work. It's more common than not to see people from Santiago go to a fifth region beach resort. Now the fifth region is where Viña del Mar and Valparaiso are, but there's also a number of other beach areas north or south of there called, for instance, Rocas de Santo Domingo, or Maitencillo, or Sapallar. If you're looking at your map, Sapallar begins with a Z. It's pronounced like, at least in Chile, like an S, Sapallar. These are very elegant, many of them very elegant beach areas. And Viña del Mar is very built up, much like Santiago. And people will live there, even on a weekend. They'll drive out. It's only an hour and a half. You get out there, you're away from the smog, you're away from the noise, and you can play tennis there, you can have your barbecues, you can just sit on the beach or enjoy things all year round, because the climate's pretty moderate in Viña. Now the winter months it does rain, so pretty much starting sometime around now in the middle of May on through the middle of September, you're going to have rain. So it's not going to be the best time to be in Viña del Mar, but still, those are the worst months to be in Santiago too, because of the smog, I should add. But still, you can get away from the smog just for the weekend, be out and about, and people do that. You'll find long weekends, especially, they spend outside of the city. Other nice destinations where people choose are down in the south, like Villarrica area, which has the city of Pucón, or Puerto Varas on Lago Yanquihue, down not too far from Puerto Montt, are two key examples of where people go. The problem with these areas are, for a lot of folks, is the rain is so substantial in the winter months and even the spring and the fall, that for them it's only a summer destination. They'll have their cabana, their little house there they built, and they'll stay there in February, or maybe January and February at the most. It's also quite a bit further to drive. I mean, you're talking about a 13-hour drive normally. Might be easier just to rent a car for all the month for a lot of people and just fly down there, or keep a second car. Disconnect the battery cable during the year and just stay down there with that car during that time. I actually had to do that once when I was teaching in the South at a university. I had two cars. Just left one at the airport, and I picked it up when I landed and used that as my second vehicle. It was just a lot easier than than driving 13 hours every week up and 13 hours back. Plane ride's only an hour, so it makes a lot more sense. Although it does get old too, folks, so that many plane rides, but if you can just do it for once a year, 1 month out of the year, it's certainly not too bad. But that's the mentality you have to adopt if you're living in Chile. You don't just live in one place. Chile is a place you get out and see the great outdoors. You visit new things. And you tend to go, if you're a Chilean, where your friends go. You all tend to go to Viña del Mar, for instance, or Reñaca specifically, or you all tend to go to La Serena, or all tend to go to Pucón. That's the way that the Chileans do it. They like to kind of move in packs, like, the masses go to one place or another. Most people from Western Europe, North America, Canada, United States, North America, they tend to travel when there's lighter congestion. They like it being more alone or just with a few friends. It's a different mentality here. But either way, you get used to living in more than one place. So when you come down here and you're thinking about planting yourself in Freedom Orchard, for instance, that's great. Come down and enjoy Freedom Orchard, but don't let Freedom Orchard Curacao be the end-all for you. We've selected Freedom Orchard's location between Santiago and Viña del Mar because it gives you the best of both worlds. You can easily be in Santiago in an hour, to the airport in half an hour. You can be in Viña del Mar in an hour. And you can be at Algarrobo, which also has a great place for docking your boat for sailing. So you can be within an hour out of there, to the major city or to another big city with a lot of amenities. And in 2 hours you can be to the ski slopes. So it's an ideal place for all year-round living, and especially as a sustainable community with libertarian-minded people, it's an excellent opportunity to rub elbows with people that are going to give you business ideas or just camaraderie, I guess you might say, here in Chile. However, you might still pick a place in Iquique or in Vicuña where you go and stay for just a month, just to get away from it all, have a little farm or have a beach resort you like, or go further south, camp out by the volcano or a peak that looks like Mount Fuji, like Villarrica, or the Sorna volcano down in Lago Yanquihue in front of, or near Frutillar in Puerto Varas and Puerto Otay, or many other places, even deep south, which is just a wonderful experience to go down all the way into Coyhaique or further down towards Puerto Natales, where I think the most beautiful places in the world exist even today. So have that mindset, prepare to change your way of thinking, that you will be getting a main place, and it might not be Santiago. Your main place might be in Viña del Mar, and you put your apartment that you visit a couple months a year in Santiago, or you put your other place in Iquique, a smaller apartment. And you plan on investing $100 grand for the small apartment, and maybe you're putting $400,000, $500,000 into the main house. That's a typical thing that you will see. Most people will prefer to live in Santiago because especially the wives that are used to, we have a lot of trouble with recalcitrant or reluctant wives not being happy with the move, but they'll be most comfortable in Santiago. But that won't necessarily be the case for everybody. Some people might be able to have their second home right here in Iquique and be able to make an apartment in Santiago the second home, or in Viña del Mar. But have in mind the idea that you're going to have two places that you live when you come to Chile. It'll really make your transition easier, that you don't feel like you have to cram everything into one single place and get satisfied with the Chilean experience in one single place. That's a big milestone to overcome. We're coming close to the end of the show, and I want to mention about the consulting services. The consulting services have been having a promotion. I appreciate the response. For only $100 for your initial consulting fee. Normally it's $995. And that's ending now with this broadcast. However, I will extend to the $500 fee until the end, till the first of June, the half price effectively consulting, then I'll go back up to normal, just because I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to take advantage of the low cut fare for an extended period of time. I appreciate you tuning in today on the Overseas Radio Network. Thank you always for your support of Red Hot Chili. This is Dr. John Coben signing off with Richard Chaptini. Thank you for joining us once again, Richard, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks a lot.